This tree says none shall pass. Or shall they? Come on. Come on, it's okay. Come on. Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Sunday morning and it's a couple of weeks since I did a video on the Summerwells case. So let's turn to Summer's case this morning and talk about an interview that a channel called Damaged Goods with No Regrets did with Margie, who is Summer's half-sister. She's one of Don Wells' children from his first marriage with Pamela Wells. So I'm going to be up front here and say that I've only been very loosely following the channels that have been talking about Summer over the last couple of weeks, because I've been really heavily invested in the Nicola Bulley case, and almost all of my spare time has been watching the Alex Murdoch trial. So I don't know, I've not got to the bottom of, and I don't know that I need to get to the bottom of really, the channels who have been talking about a CPS report that allegedly says that Don Wells SA'd Margie when she was young. I don't know who put that out. I don't know how anybody would have known the contents of a CPS report. I don't know, maybe you could tell me in the comments, but I'm more interested in the fact that she's come to YouTube and told us what Don's like from the perspective of one of his children. We've never heard from any of his children before. Summer's three full brothers, they're too young. Donnie Jr. and Margie, who are grown up from his first marriage, have never spoken out before. So whatever reason triggered her to come to YouTube and give this interview with Damaged Goods pales into insignificance when you actually listen to what she's got to say. And this interview was about half an hour long. At the moment of recording this, it's been online for 15 hours and it's only had 2.2k views. Now I know that it was played first on her husband's channel. I think he's called White Boy Lockdown Radio or something like that. So more people have heard this interview, and I know a few channels have played it and have commented on it. But if you just want to go and listen to the interview with no commentary, then it's there on Damaged Goods channel. Now let's head this way. Right down here. See what happens. Hello. Hello. Good girl. I wasn't really gone. I hadn't really been kidnapped. I'm only going to play you a short clip because I want you to go and listen to this for yourself. I really do. So in this interview, and it was a very good interview, Damaged Goods did a great job, Margie was very positive towards Don, but she was also realistic. You know, she said that he was a great dad when he was there and he was, you know, working long hours, but when he was there, he was engaged. He was engaged with the kids. He would, you know, take neighbourhood kids out to go and play basketball. She told this story about one of her friends went riding their bikes at night once, and he followed them on his motorbike. So quite an adventure. I would have loved that when I was a kid. So I guess, in his younger days, I guess he might have been considered a cool dad. I don't know. But we've never heard this side of Don Wells before from anybody. We've seen Don being humble and religious and softly spoken when he's sober. We've also seen him ranting and aggressive and just obnoxious when he's drunk. That's what social media did to him. Not that he didn't have a drinking and a drug problem before. I think it was drugs mainly before. I'm not saying that at all, but, he did a little flurry of appearing on people's channels 2 or 3 weeks ago, which is why Summer's case kind of came back up in the YouTube algorithm for a few days. But apparently he's been ordered by the court, because he wants to get his boys back. He's been ordered by the court to stay off social media. It's good advice, because him and social media seem not to get along. He gets upset, people rile him, people antagonise him, and he falls for it. But he's not fair, right? It's not fair. He's an addict. Margie acknowledged that he was an addict. She said that he's had a drug problem since he was in his early teens. And that caused problems for the family. Him and Pam, his first wife, used to fight. So yes, he was good with the kids, but, he used to fight with Pam. They used to have disagreements. Sometimes he was in prison, and sometimes he'd go on drug binges, and then he would lecture her about not following in his footsteps. Do as I say, not as I do, I guess. But she was very clear when she was asked the question, did your father abuse you? She was quick to say, no, he did not. Now, obviously, she could be lying. She could be not wanting to put that out into the world, and I could understand that. But I don't think she is. Because she said, look, she's been molested by people. She even named someone, but it wasn't her dad that did it. Now, if it was her dad that did it, I don't think she'd have even come to YouTube. Do you think? And if she did, then she would have come with a story like Don's stepsisters did about the abuse that they allegedly suffered from Don when Don was young, when Don was a teenager. We've all talked about that. I've been very, very negative towards Don when all that came out. I was thinking, well, if he could do this to his stepsister when he was young, but still have that attitude that his stepsister was partly to blame, then that's a problem. That's a big problem, and I've talked about that a lot in the past. This is why Margie's perspective is very important. Yes, what he did when he was a young boy is wrong, but once he became a dad, he was a good dad, at least part of the time. And I think, honestly, Don would have been a good dad. If he'd not have been an addict, we can all give the if, buts and maybes, but if he hadn't have been an addict, he's always been a hard worker. He's always had a job, and he does engage with his kids. It's a shame that he did have that addiction that he couldn't break, and seemingly still can't break. And he's now, 58? How he's still alive, I've no idea. But this is a very, very long-term problem. And Margie, said that he had a problem from his early teens. He had a problem throughout her childhood. And that's really sad. Really sad. It's such an ingrained problem. And we've heard what Don's like when he's drunk or when he's not sober. We've heard what Don's like when he's not sober, whether that's as a result of drink or drugs. And he's not a nice man. His personality changes. So do I think his kids should go back to live with him unless he battled this addiction and won? Honestly, no, I don't. Because Don, when he's not sober, is not a very nice person. But that's only the social media side of Don. What Margie said is something different, a different perspective, a rare perspective from one of his children. Could her childhood with Don have been worse? Could she be looking at through her childhood with rose-tinted glasses on? Yes. Yes, but still, it is a perspective we haven't heard before. And I'm going to play you a minute or so of her saying that Don is a completely different person now. He doesn't have his kids. So, listen to this.
Do you think that he would have ever done anything to hurt any of his other children? No. And there, I'm asking this because of the events that have taken place with Summer. I know a lot of the things are off topic. You can't speak about it, but I mean, you can, and you can honestly give your opinion and say, like, do you think there was any involvement at all on your father or stepmother's behalf? I don't think either one of them had anything to do with Summer's disappearance. Like I said, my dad, he loves his kids, and his girls to him are so precious. I can tell that it's really hurt him. He's come up here to visit me a couple times, and I can tell by the look in his face that it's not him anymore. It's like taking Summer away from him has taken a lot away from him. It's just his whole personality has changed, and it's kind of hard to see my dad now. It's like I feel like it's hard to be there for him now because I don't know what to say or do for him. Like, I can imagine say can make it better or easier, but by him knowing that you have his best intention at heart and that he has your support, that means more than you think.
And I think that's really sad, and I think that is a perspective that we needed to hear. Now, I've thought that Don did something to Summer. Like, way when the case was new, I thought Don did something to Summer. Or at least covered something up. I even, for a long time, thought Summer had been sold. I did. But this case now, 20 months later, I don't believe that now. I don't think Don had anything at all to do with Summer's disappearance. I don't think Candice did. Above and beyond not watching her. Maybe Summer wandering away further than they anticipated, further than they thought she would. And Candice wasn't watching her. I don't think she disappeared from somebody abducting her from the basement. I've never believed that, and nobody can convince me of that. But could Summer have walked out that basement door and just wandered that little bit too far? Yes. And it's surprising how far a child can wander. Look at little JJ Rowland from Florida, who was found in the woods. It's not that far as the crow flies, but it's still a long way in the woods when you're wearing shorts and barefooted for a little 2-year-old guy. Summer was 5 when she disappeared. How far could she have gone? Could she have wandered out of the search area? Yes. Could something unfortunate have happened to her in those woods and she'd been missed? Yes. Could she have been abducted? Even, from the bottom of their property? Yes. Yes. We've seen a lot of kids who've wandered further than people thought they ever would. Unfortunately, little JJ, 2 years old, was rescued. His mother was asleep. She's never going to fall asleep again, is she? He was the lucky one. That family were lucky. Roy, the rescuer, he did a great thing, but it could have been any of those searchers who dedicated their time. But, you see, when Summer disappeared, they didn't have a team of volunteers combing those woods. And I can understand it, not asking volunteers the first day when they've got the search dogs out there. But after that, it needs to be all hands on deck. And I know the terrain around East Tennessee is rough and it's difficult. But would a team of 500 volunteers have found Summer, either alive or not, in those first few days? You know, let's say she hadn't been abducted and she just wandered away. Yeah, probably. But 20 months later, the trail's gone cold. And there's no new updates ever about Summer. So while YouTube creators fight each other, I'm going to just stick to my guns and say I do believe those footprints were Summer's. Was she on her own? Was she being carried? Was she abducted? Come on. Did she wander away and something really bad happened to her? But what I do believe is that Don didn't have anything to do with Summer's disappearance. And he's done a lot of bad things, he has. But I don't think he hurt Summer. I don't think he knows what happened to Summer. I hope he can kick his addiction. I hope he can have a relationship with Summer's brothers in the future. But I just want to thank Margie for coming forward and giving us an insight into what her dad is really like. And whether that's through rose-tinted glasses or not, I still think this was a valuable interview. Let me know, though, what you think in the comments below. I've been Michelle. Hope you're well. I'll see you in the next video. It's goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. Bye, guys.